Well, I was born in Pondicherry, but I pretty much grew up in Ooty because I went to boarding school in Ooty from the age of 6 till 16. There was an international school there called Hebron School, and we did like a A-level system. It was a fantastic school because it paid a lot of attention to all specters of life. It wasn't just the academics. We had a drama club, we had a trekking club. So there was a lot of outdoor activities. There was a lot of art activities on the side as well as academics. And that's where I think my love for theatre also started. I did a lot of theatre plays in school, joined this drama club. And then I went and studied abroad. I went to Goldsmiths, which is a pretty left-wing arts college in London. And I did drama and theatre studies there. And yeah, it was a very new experience. I thought I was very open-minded and unconventional, but when I got there, I felt so Sida and like straightforward, because everybody there was like completely wacky, coming up with great, like really mad ideas. People would dress totally different, like they had like purple hair and pink tutus, and that was like normal dressing for a day at college. So it was an eye-opener. I discovered a lot about life. I learned a lot. Living alone for the first time in my life abroad, I had to get a job, a part-time job as a waitress, and then a part-time job in a cinema as well, to pay the fees, to pay the rent. So it was all a big learning experience. Yeah. Of course, I think education is freedom, and I think the fact that we have less priority to women's education, and a lot less seriousness is taken if a woman is not educated, or if a girl is not educated, then that leaves that girl a lot more restricted, and not able to take decisions or maybe get away from a situation where she's in a bad, in trouble, just because she is not financially dependent, because she's not able to get a job. So I think, of course, education is freedom. I mean, that's a tough question. I don't know. Like, for instance, right now I was in Bitspilani in Goa, and they have one girl to 6 boys. There's so many more boys taking the engineering degree than there are women or girls. So I mean, it's very hard to say, because it is true that in a lot of these professions we don't take a woman as seriously as we do a man, especially the sort of typically male-oriented science or engineering. But I mean, stereotypes take a long time. They take generations to break. All over the world, we find even in cinema there are a lot less female directors than there are male directors. So it still is a man's world out there, and it will take a long time for women to sort of break their own stereotypes and go out in what they want to do in their interests. I mean, I honestly think that right now the idea of performing arts as a career is almost non-existent. We have a few courses around the country, but it's not seen as a very serious subject. And it's a shame, obviously, I feel, because I'm an artist and a performing artist, so I feel that we need a lot more support. Of course, it's a chicken and hen situation, because when you get out there, there's also no jobs in performing arts. The government doesn't support performing arts very strongly, compared to somewhere like in Europe, where there's immediately, unions and subsidies and things put out especially for the arts. So I think we have a long way to go here. I feel there are a few interesting people who are coming up with stuff. Like in Bombay, there's theatre professionals, that do like a 2-year course or 1-year course. And I feel I hope that more and more people will be encouraged to do these, and I don't know. It's going to take a long time for performing arts to be taken seriously, I think. And it's the same thing with films. I think we have an independent cinema that's sort of starting to come out now, but it's again more recognized abroad than it is here, and we're more recognized in India for our Bollywood than anything else. So yeah, it's going to take a long time for that to change. It's hard to say. I mean, I am doing a play right now called Colorblind. It's a play about Tagore, and it has mixed responses. People have really enjoyed my performance as far as I've understood. A lot of people have commented on that, critics as well. However, the content of the play is quite intellectual, and it's quite, the form is very modern. It's not traditional in any way. So that's hard for a lot of people to handle and digest, and they're not used to it. They're used to a certain linear type of storytelling. So yeah, we are pushing that boundary a little bit, and I think people are still not used to non-linear type of storytelling, even in films. I tend to, like I balance out both. I do some slightly more commercial, even in plays. I do a play which is Hamlet the Clown Prince, which is a comedy and sort of very lighthearted, and it's very popular with the audience. And then you have a play like Colorblind, which is a little more, alternative and has a smaller audience, but it still runs for some people. So yeah, I think I kind of try and balance out both. I mean, I think definitely I'd like to burst that bubble that it's so serious. Everyone thinks performing arts, it's like some cultural, old fogey type of performance, there's this typical stereotype of what performing arts is, like some Kathakali performance for 3 hours and you don't understand any of it, That is our idea of performing arts. Whereas actually there's a lot of modern stuff that I've seen. A lot of the Marathi plays that I see are really popular and very funny and completely to do with today's time. A lot of the Hindi writers as well are doing this, Manav Kaul and Makarand, and so I feel there is a change, and there is definitely a performing arts which is entertaining, which is for young people, which isn't trying to be preaching, in some way, which is just entertaining. And yeah, so I'd love that people go and see more of that. I guess if you're a student in performing arts, I would say just do it for the love of it, because I think a lot of people do it in order to get fame or in order to get some kind of stardom from it, and if you do that, you sort of drive yourself crazy, because that's not a guarantee. You need to do it for for the craft, for wanting to improve yourself as an actor, for finding that truth inside you, constantly understanding yourself and other human beings better. If you love that, then you should be in performing arts. So my parents, along with most of my parents' friends and neighbors, were all like, but beta, that's nice, but what are you going to do for money? What are you going to do for a job? It's good you're doing this for a hobby. So it's still that's the idea, like that you're going to do this for a hobby. And my God, it was a really expensive hobby, 3 years of studies in uni in London. But no, it's definitely still seen as something very unreliable, something that you can't guarantee a career in. It is a tough, I'm not going to lie, it's very tough to survive. I know people who are still surviving just doing theatre, and they're just living a very simple life in order to do what they love to do. So that's a choice you have to be ready to make. Maybe you'll get lucky, maybe you'll get like big work, but you have to be ready to also live a very simple life if you love your job. We didn't have exams, but we used to have essays, yes. We used to have essays, and performances, live performances. So I guess that is your ultimate exam, is a live performance, because that's where you're in front of an audience and you know, you're trying to make them react a certain way. So yeah. I remember one time when we did this play, and in Prithvi we did this performance of Hair. It was a dark version of Rapunzel. And in the middle of the performance, the electricity went out. It was black, pitch dark stage. So there was obviously me and Pooja Sarup, two of us, were on stage acting. And the others backstage were obviously panicking, what do we do, what do we do? And we had to continue. So we pretty much had to make up a new scene in the dark. You know, we created a new scene on stage about the lights going out, and you know, oh, we need to get some candles. And then the people from backstage heard, and they brought candles in, and we continued the play with candles. So you know, you have to be sharp, you have to be ready for anything in live performance. All sorts of things go wrong, and you know, you've got to be ready for the surprise to happen. You know. I mean, I think it's an amazing time of your life. The first time you get away from home, you know, the first time you're like so-called freedom, and you get to like do what you want, come home at any time and all of that. It's also very tough, and it teaches you a lot of responsibility. You know, you have to learn to just pragmatically handle your accounts and your finances and your taxes and all of that. And then also emotionally, you have to know what your priorities are. You have to know how much to work and how much to play. Yeah, so yeah, campus life is a mixture of great fun and a lot of responsibility, because now there's nobody telling you at what time you need to study or what time you need to get up. You have to do it for yourself. So, and you know, in my university there wasn't like attendance, so you could not show up. And the thing is, the first year is pretty much the year where you do all that, you go out and you party and all that. But second and third year, you suddenly have like performances and exams, I mean, essays to do, and you have to be like on the ball. And I luckily, maybe because I was financially, you know, I didn't have the money, I had to be very disciplined. I had to work quite hard. Weekends, I was working as a waitress, and then weekdays I was studying. So, you know, in a way that's good. If I had those weekends free, I think I would have, you know, probably whiled away the time a lot more. So it's a fantastic life. You learn. I learned a lot about other people. You meet people from all over the world, and I think that's really important, that you meet people from different cultures, different religions, you know, people who think differently, and that you can all live in peace. I mean, if you can do it in a campus, then why can't we do it in a community or in a city or in a country? You know, so I feel like more and more people should go and live in a campus so that they learn a little bit about, you know, world peace. Reading is very important in performing arts. I mean, you know, it's a world of imagination. The stage is a world of imagination, and books are wonderful for that, because they take you into another place where you're not given the image in front of you like on a TV. You know, you're not given everything, so your imagination takes it way different from what the book itself has, and each person will probably think of it in a different way. You know, if you take the same book and somebody else reads it, they will describe that person or that character very differently from you. So that's the gem of a book, that it has an individuality, that you kind of mark your imprints also on the book when you read it. So all of this will affect how you perform, how you're able to think and imagine things, how you can make things which are not in front of you, are not physically there, into something that people believe in, or is real for people. So yeah, use your imagination, read books. I mean, I always feel like I would opt for higher education, but I'm biased because I've done it myself. My mother, I actually didn't want to study further. I wanted to go out, travel, do my own thing, start a theatre company. And my mother was the one who forced me to go and do a higher education. So at the time I was complaining, but now when I look back, it's given me such a broad understanding of life. And in school you're studying for other people. In school you're studying for your teachers and everything. When you go to university, when you're doing higher education, you're studying for yourself. You're studying your passion. You're studying what you choose to do. So that is where you will really figure out how much you love something, how much you will follow something, and how much you last in something over a long term. Yeah, I remember this one professor. He was my history teacher, Mr. Twigger. And he was the best history teacher. Every lesson in history was like an MI5 story. It was like a spy story, you know. We would want to listen to what was happening. So he had this amazing ability to make all the facts, you know. Otherwise, history is just a lot of facts, but he would always make it into a story, a very interesting story. So I remember very clearly. My English teacher, Mrs. Dodds, was also a very powerful influence on me because she taught me creative writing. And she, you know, when I was starting off in school, my English was very weak because I spoke Tamil and French. At home I spoke French, and with other people, friends and all, I spoke Tamil. So my English was really bad. So my English teacher forced me to read and read and read way more books. She made me, I remember one holiday, summer holiday, I was so upset because she had given me these 5 thick books, Great Expectations, I can't remember. There were 5 thick books, you know, that she made me read. And I was like, why am I getting this? And after that summer, I came back and my English just went up. Like I was able to write better. I was able to, you know, think better, create better. So I think, yeah, reading again is so important. My top 5 favorite books. It's a tough one. I love Oscar Wilde. So one of my favorite books of his is The Picture of Dorian Gray. I love The Little Prince by Saint-Exupéry. Age of Innocence, again a book about social issues at a certain time and how women are treated in that time. It's about a divorced woman in the 19th century, 18th century, I'm not sure, but basically how people treat somebody who's divorced in that time. What else? Age of Innocence. I'm going blank. I can't think. What are some recent books I read? I'm trying to. Sorry, I'm going blank completely. Recently, I read Noon. I thought that was a good book. Atish Tasir, I think. Atish Tasir. That was a good book. I read. Bas ho gaya. That's 4, na? 5th one, the ultimate 5th story. I mean Shakespeare. I love Shakespeare plays. So one of my favorite plays would probably be Midsummer Night's Dream. I think comedies are far more difficult to do than tragedies, and so I would pick that one. Inspiration. I mean, I remember watching a lot of theatre when I was abroad, when I went to study in London. And some of the people that really struck me at the time one was definitely Pina Bausch. She invented something which is dance theatre. So she was actually a classic ballet dancer who then, you know, twisted that around and turned it into a performance with theatre. So it's beautiful. Her things are always very political, very strong, and very beautiful. Another person would be Robert Lepage. Again, he was from Canada, and he would use multilingual plays. He would use people from all over the world and create beautiful plays. Peter Brook, the Mahabharata, was something that I was very influenced by from a young age. I watched that when I was very, very young. Yeah, those I would say are some of my... Oh, what time of day is the best time to learn? Oh, wow. I was actually a night person. Like, I love to study at night because it's really quiet. And I'm not a morning person. But I think people differ. I think morning is much better to be physically active. Like, early mornings is great for like yoga and things like that. And evenings is when your brain is ticking because all the ideas of the day have collected. So I would say evening is a good time. To keep myself awake through the night, I would drink coffee. I mean, like, I love coffee and music. I would listen to music every once in a while. Yeah, and I always think, I don't know, like when you want to study, you don't need to keep yourself awake. Like when you're excited about something, you will keep awake. And when you're nervous about your exams, you will keep awake no matter what. I mean, in school we had exams. In university we didn't have proper exams. We had these, as I said, these essays that we would have to do, weekly essays, and then we would have performances at the end of 6 months or something. That was the really scary exam, because you have 6 months, and of course for the first 3 months you do nothing. Then the next 3 months you panic and you work really hard. So yeah. I have a goldfish memory. I can only remember things recent, okay? So, like if you ask me to recall something from 6 months ago, no chance. But whatever I'm doing right now, I'll know it backwards, inside out. So I don't know what that is. When I'm into something at that point, yes, I remember things fast. I learn them quickly. But as soon as, it's like there's a dustbin. After it's finished, I throw it out. So the next thing, there's space for that. It's like a disk, a drive or something. You have to empty some of the information to get new information. I mean, I don't think it consciously I did. I mean, I'm sure there's lots of things that help. I play chess, for instance, which I think really helps with memory. Some of these games that I used to play, we used to play all these games, especially when we were in the bus traveling or whatever. We would play these games where, you have to remember a sequence of things between 10 people, and it has come back around, and you have to add one thing to each time and repeat. So these kind of things, obviously, when you're non-consciously, they sort of help you. But again, it's regular activity. A brain is a muscle like any other part of the body, so you need to use it on a regular basis. And when I'm learning lines, I don't actually learn. I don't sit there and repeat my lines over and over. I do the scene over and over, and I try and remember what happens in the scene. So I don't learn word for word. I try and just repeat it physically, repeat it, by acting it out, and then eventually I get it right. If you look at education as your like something compulsory, you're never going to enjoy it. So this is why it's so important for you to choose a subject that you really, really feel passionate about, because otherwise you're not going to follow through. And at the same time, you might not know what you want to do. I didn't always know, I really want to do this, and you have to be ready to make those mistakes. You have to be brave enough to take the risk, to take the wrong, maybe you'll do the wrong course, but it's only when you take it that you'll realize, and then you'll find out what you really love. You will be talented at something. Maybe that thing won't be serious to you. Maybe you scribble things in your diary, and you never really take it seriously. It's just for yourself. But one day you will figure out that that's that thing that you are really good at. So don't stop until you find that thing, and work hard at it. You have to work hard. There's no other way out. I mean, people think that once you found what you want to do, you don't have to work hard. That's not true. I'm constantly working hard at reinventing the kind of acting I do, or trying to improve myself. And there are times where I get bored also, and I find it difficult to motivate myself. But there's always something new. When I find that new thing, then again I get a new energy and a new spark, which makes me want to keep working. I guess passion and belief in what you're doing. It's hard to be very specific, because life is so up and down, and you have to. You will also have bad days and good days. It's not always going to be perfect. Just because you're doing something you love, it doesn't mean that it's perfect all the time. But if you love it, you're going to put that extra effort, because it's like a baby, or it's like you want to nurture it. You want it to grow and become beautiful, and that's what it's like. Thank you.